driving, things are awesome, and then they have to go through the very same tunnel that Rex Racer's car exploded, burning a body beyond recognition. And
so he's totally
Speed's
dead.
a little, he's dead. Speed is shook because he buried a body that came from a burning car that crashed in there. So anyways, they go through there. Speed gets a little shook, but then he, gets it together. They go through the tunnel. This is a podcast, so you can't understand. They go through the tunnel, and it's awesome. It's like, hey, what would it be like if in the beginning of Akira, instead of in Neo Tokyo, they were inside of a mirrored intestine of a giant space whale? That's what this scene looks like.
Welcome to the Celluloid Mirror mini-sode. Number whatever it is. I don't know. We're not really numbering these exactly. This time, you don't just get to listen to me. You also get to listen to Nicole. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, check it out. I'm here on a mini episode. A mini-sode. How did this happen? I'm not usually here. Everything's upside down, topsy-turvy.
Exactly. We just got finished recording a future episode with Alana Rafferty, who is in one of our films, is a horror filmmaker, has a film coming out, a short film called Fraud at Tribeca this June. So if you're going to Tribeca, look for her film that she produced, Fraud, at that. I think our episode will come out after Tribeca, so I wanted to make sure to mention that. So we just got wrapped up doing that, talking about, well, if you follow me on Instagram or 4 Mile Circus on Instagram, we definitely talked about Xanadu. But I think we'll hold back on what the other film was. What could we possibly pair with Xanadu?
I mean, what compares to Xanadu? If you can let us know, actually. Call that voicemail number and leave us a voicemail about what compares with Xanadu. Do you have that number handy, Sean? Because I sure don't.
No, go to anchor.fm/the Celluloid Mirror, and there's a bunch of ways that you don't have to necessarily call a number. You can also just leave it on the website there. I don't think anybody's actually done that yet. If they have, we haven't been notified about it. Or they can email us, or they can send us an Instagram message, or
they can send me a Twitter message. Maybe not you.
They can send you a Twitter message. Right now, I'm not on Twitter because I don't want to, because Elon Musk wants it, so I don't.
He may not be getting it though. I know you're not on Twitter, so you might not be following all the ins and outs.
I've seen that stuff. I'm sure, from the beginning, I was pretty sure it was at least partly a publicity stunt, especially because that there was news about how Tesla's getting sued for the rampant clan level racism on the factory floor. That it was definitely always a publicity stunt to distract from the fact that he's garbage.
Apartheid Clyde.
Nice. So we just got done talking about Xanadu. We would love to hear from you. What do you think would pair with that, or does pair with that, or will we be pairing with that? And any thoughts or feelings that you have about Xanadu. But before we get to that episode, which is further down the line, we're not going to tell you when that's coming exactly. You'll just have to keep an eye out. Next week, we wanted to let you know, you would have just heard a little clip from it at the beginning here. We are talking about Speed Racer and Josie and the Pussycats with Che Broadnax.
Yeah. Filmmaker, etc. Che Broadnax, who previously joined us on season 1 of the Celluloid Mirror to talk about Sorry to Bother You and The Big Boss. And we had a delightful, rollicking conversation about those two films a little while ago. If you haven't heard that, you might want to check out the feed. It was, I believe, the third episode of season 1.
Yeah, I think it was number 3.
Yeah, so if you want to check that out, we talk about the Bruce Lee film The Big Boss, as well as Boots Riley's more recent film, Sorry to Bother You, and the three of us kind of felt that they were the same film in many respects. So maybe that resonates with you. Maybe you're like, what the heck are you all talking about? And if it's the latter, if you're like, what the heck are you talking about? You can listen to that episode and find out. But anyways, if you heard that, Che is an old friend of mine, and we all tend to have lots to say. So this Speed Racer, Josie and the Pussycats episode, full disclosure, is about two films that, for most of us at least, are two kind of favorites. We all, three of us, really, really like these two movies, think these two movies have a lot in common. I had talked to both Sean and Che about these two movies and what they had in common for years leading up to this podcast episode. So as you might expect, we all had a lot to say, so much to say, in fact, that I split the episode into two parts. So the Celluloid Mirror episode you will be hearing next week is part one of our conversation with Che Broadnax about Speed Racer and Josie and the Pussycats. And our next episode after that is going to be the thrilling conclusion of that same wide-ranging conversation where we take a very deep dive into these two different 2000s film adaptations of cartoons based on comic books about what happens when, your craft and commerce collide.
There you go. Well, that's what's coming. Again, we would always love to hear from y'all. Hit us up on Instagram, on email, info@4milescircus.com, or social media messages, leave comments, whatever. Go to anchor.fm/the Celluloid Mirror, and you can leave a voicemail if you want. We'd be happy to use that. Just send a carrier pigeon or something like that. I don't know, whatever else people do, however else people communicate. What else would be great is we know we've gotten some new listeners, hopefully, especially from Annie's episode, Return to Oz and Hellraiser 2. We would love for you to share what you think with the world at large by leaving a review on or a rating. You can do those at the very least. You can do those on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which, based on the analytics that we have, are where the show is being listened to the most right now. So, if you wouldn't mind just leaving a little rating or review, that would be super helpful. It helps other people find the show. Another way to help people find the show is kidnap them, tie them up in the back of a van, and make them listen to it.
I found that's the most effective one. One note before we say goodbye to these fine people. Speaking of Annie, our last week's episode was about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Variety. And we did not put in the show notes something that I wanted to share with you all that relates to that. In that episode, there was a bit of a conversation about the so-called male gaze and how that relates to the two films, especially Variety, but Buffy as well to a degree. And I think I gave a little bit of a garbled, semi-coherent, and largely incomplete rant about the theory of the male gaze and how people, in my telling at least, misuse the term and things. I would be remiss to not shout out Annie Rose Malamet's podcast, Girls, Guts, Giallo, and her recent episode that was a deep dive into the male gaze, where that term comes from, what it means, what it doesn't mean, etc. So we'll put a little link in the show notes today for this episode. If you want actual useful information about that. It's a really great episode. It's very accessible and also really goes into what that is all about and what it's not all about.
Yeah, it's a great episode. So we'll leave you. Get in touch. We want to hear from you. And, maybe we'll talk about it during a mini-sode or a regular episode, depending on how scheduling goes. We'll leave you off with just one more little clip from next week's episode, just to get you prepared.
A little taste, if you will. Oh, jinx.
A little taste of it. All right. Bye. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
If you're lucky. So it was wild to me to see these critics, one after the other, just be like these cynical hypocrites trying to be like, we're too cool for corporations while giving them free advertising. And I was trying to do the intellectual exercise of being like, okay, I love this movie, but I can still criticize it at the same time. Let me think through this. What do I think? In a way, sure, you are adding to brand recognition by having it there at all. In a way, the house always wins no matter what you do. I'm not arguing about like how effective politically Josie and the Pussycats critique is. I'm just saying I think it's bizarre to pile on it like this as opposed to any other movie.
Yeah.
And that's my 2 cents there.
The Celluloid Mirror is a 4 Mile Circus production hosted by Nicole Solomon and Sean Mannion. Our theme music is Twisted by Kevin MacLeod. You can hear more from Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.filmmusic.io. Please take a few moments to rate and review the Celluloid Mirror on your podcast platform of choice. It really helps with discoverability. If you have questions or comments about what you heard on the show or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to email us at info@4milecircus.com or seek us out on social media. We are at 4 Mile Circus on Twitter and Instagram. Want more from the Celluloid Mirror, Sean and Nicole? Join our Patreon at patreon.com/4milecircus. You'll get early access to episodes, uncut video of our recording sessions, access to our Discord server, and much more. To learn more about everything we do, visit us at 4milecircus.com.